Hey, what's going on, guys? The Horror Man back with 3 from me for August 2023. Three from Me is the series in which I recommend 3 movies I watched the previous month, or in this case, this month. I wanted to get this video up before the start of September, or Hammer Horror Month. The movies I recommend are not necessarily first-time watches, and not necessarily horror. They are also not always my top 3 movies of the month. They are simply 3 movies I think deserve some more attention. I usually try to avoid including films I'll be discussing in other videos. And there are no honorable mentions. I simply recommend 3 movies. So, here we go. 3 from me for August 2023. Let's start it off with Nothing But Trouble, released in 1991. This movie was co-written by Peter and Dan Aykroyd and directed by Dan Aykroyd. As you can see, it stars Chevy Chase, Dan Aykroyd, John Candy, and Demi Moore. I used to love this film when I was younger, and it's been decades since I last watched it. So, this month, I decided it was finally time to revisit it. I was hoping it would live up to my memories of it. What always made this one so unique for me is that while it is a comedy, and a very dark comedy, it clearly has horror elements, and lots of them. I'd say it almost has a bit of an identity crisis, which is maybe why it wasn't so popular. It's as if it's too dark to be comedy, but too comedic to be horror. Regardless, I still think it's a blast, and the setting alone is pretty amazing. It's like the entire movie takes place in one big, loony funhouse. There are certain images and characters you're not likely to soon forget, and it certainly has an originality to it lacking in most other films. While this probably won't be for everyone, I do recommend Nothing But Trouble. Next up is the 2009 animated movie from Rob Zombie, The Haunted World of El Superbeasto. Now, Jason and I did talk about this one briefly in our Rob Zombie ranking stream earlier this month. Not everyone catches the live streams though, so I thought it was warranted to highlight it here as well. This was the only Rob Zombie film I hadn't seen, but I obviously had to watch it for the ranking. I wish I hadn't put it off so long, especially as a Rob Zombie fan. This movie was awesome. Now, I say that as someone who is not a huge fan of animation. Don't get me wrong, there are the classics I grew up with that I love, and there are other animated films I do enjoy, but it's not my go-to genre. The Haunted World of El Superbeasto, though, is one I can see myself revisiting often. First of all, it was hilarious. I love all of the homages to other Rob Zombie films and other horror films in general. Ironically, despite being an animated film, The Haunted World of El Superbeasto probably features more nudity than any other Rob Zombie film. If you're into that sort of thing, and I know there are people who are, well, this should do the trick. The voice acting is great, and yes, Sherry has a role. It's raunchy, it's offensive, it crosses lines, just as it should. It reminds me of a time when people weren't so overly offended by everything, and I miss that. I loved The Haunted World of El Superbeasto, and I hope you'll enjoy it too. And my last recommendation for the month of August is Boxing Helena. Now, Jason and I will be talking about this one in a future video, so I made an exception for this 3 from me, because it's that good. Released in 1993, Boxing Helena might just be one of my favorite films of all time. It stars Julian Sands, rest in peace to him, Sherilyn Fenn, the late Bill Paxton, Kurtwood Smith, Art Garfunkel, and Mary from Christmas Vacation. The film was directed by Jennifer Lynch, David Lynch's daughter. This is a movie that has stuck with me ever since the first time I saw it. The performances, especially from Julian Sands and Sherilyn Fenn, are standouts. Although I will say, revisiting it this time, for the first time after learning of Julian Sands' passing, there was an even deeper sadness to an already sad movie. It's dark, it's disturbing, there's plenty of gorgeous nudity. I love everything about this film, and you'll hear more about Boxing Helena in that future video I mentioned. For now though, if you can find it, because the movie is out of print and pretty rare, I highly recommend Boxing Helena. So, there you have it, guys. 3 from me for August 2023. Have you seen any of these films? And which of the 3 interest you the most? Comment below and let me know. Thanks for watching, guys. Hit that thumbs up and be kind. Subscribe.